Spider-Man No Way Home is the event film of the year in every way we wanted it to be, loaded with Marvel Easter eggs along the way, and in this spoiler-filled video we're going to break them down and share a full reaction. BD here with your Spider-Man No Way Home breakdown video, running through 16 Easter eggs that I caught while watching the film and sharing my spoiler-filled reaction at the end of this video. Spoilers follow, let's jump in. The movie starts with the tie to the Hawkeye series, with Rogers the musical billboards being all over New York City, which is a stage show we just saw in the first episode of the Disney Plus Hawkeye series. Meanwhile, Hawkeye Episode 5, which just aired this week, had Yelena reference the new and improved Statue of Liberty, which has to be a reference to what we saw in No Way Home's third act. Flash Thompson's book is called Flashpoint, which is a reference to a DC Comics event by the same name, which also dealt with multiverse madness. DC Comics exists in the MCU, as Eternals just showed us, so maybe Flash just straight up stole the Flashpoint name.
That's Superman with the cape, and you're shooting laser beams out of your eye.
Charlie Cox returns as Daredevil, and we're not sure yet if the MCU is taking on the stories from the Netflix shows where he was introduced, or if these are variant versions like J. Jonah Jameson is in No Way Home, but he's already filming his next Marvel project and he's bringing a new costume, so take that as you will. The mural in Peter's Midtown High School features prominent figures from history, but also MCU characters like Howard Stark, the OG Ant-Man Hank Pym, and Captain America scientist Dr. Abraham Erskine, who you saw in the first Avenger. Feast is all over this film, and that comes with connections to Miles Morales and Mr. Negative and other comic and game stories, but none of that is referenced here just yet. Norman Osborn recites several iconic lines from the original Spider-Man movie, like,
"You know, I'm something of a scientist myself,"
and tells Peter, "You're struggling to have everything you want while the world tries to make you choose." Ned promises Peter that he won't become a supervillain and try to kill him, but in the comics he does just that when he becomes the Hobgoblin, and Jacob Batalon has actually admitted he wants to do this in the movies. The three Peters did the spider meme when Ned called for Peter and they all pointed at each other. We just love to see that. Toby Maguire Spider-Man explains that he had web block when he had an existential crisis, which refers to Spider-Man 3 when the franchise as a whole kind of had an existential crisis. Andrew Spider-Man catches Tom Spider-Man's MJ, and it's one of the more emotional moments for those of us who remember The Amazing Spider-Man 2 when he was unable to successfully catch Gwen Stacy, and he wishes he could have that moment back. Speaking of bad backs, Toby's Spidey has a back issue, and it refers to both his Spider-Man hurting his back in Spider-Man 2. My back! This is also a nod to Toby Maguire almost losing the role of Spider-Man when he said back issues were preventing him from working on the same movie. It was so close to recasting that Jake Gyllenhaal was literally prepping to take the role. Toby's Peter tells Andrew's Peter that he's amazing, which feels like Andrew just deserved to hear it because his Spider-Man franchise got cut short and isn't often given a lot of love from fans and critics, but also it's called The Amazing Spider-Man.
You're amazing, man.
One shot of all three Spider-Mans swinging in front of the moon is an homage to Mark Webb's awesome shots from the Amazing Spider-Man movies he directed. Electro shares that there has to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere, and it's only a matter of time until we see Miles Morales, a Spider-Man who is African-American and Puerto Rican, especially considering we met Miles' uncle in Spider-Man Homecoming with Aaron Davis, played by Donald Glover. When the multiverse cracks rip open, the comic shapes of Spider-Man villains start to come through, including Kraven the Hunter, Rhino as an actual human rhino thing and not a machine, Scorpion with an actual scorpion tail, and possibly Black Cat being in there as well. Finally, we get the classic Spider-Man suit at the end of the film. It looks glorious, and Peter swings through New York City at Christmas time, and maybe he's flying right above the events of Hawkeye, which are playing out in NYC on TV.
Yes.
Reaction time. I loved this film and the experience of watching it. The theater energy only makes it better. It's hard to imagine watching it without that. It's hard to believe this movie even exists, to be honest. Toby, Andrew, and Tom were so good together. Andrew Garfield was the Spider-Man who I thought stole the scenes for me, and Willem Dafoe cemented himself as the GOAT. The plot was convenient and happened very quickly as a means to kind of bring this multiverse event to life, but it felt so self-aware, like fan service, and to me it was just a blast. So the only things that could have made it better to me would have been another movie leading up to it, or if some of the surprises had been prevented from leaking online. Aunt May's death was really heavy, but I felt more emotion when Andrew caught MJ. That was powerful. Ned being magic is an interesting thread, and so is Peter being an anonymous broke college student. This movie seemed to just really understand Spider-Man and everything that character represents, and I can poke a few holes in the plot and the weird kind of gold light visual effect that sent everyone back to their universes, but I had so much fun watching this movie that I can just love this movie for what it is, and I think overall it's still very good even if you want to poke holes. The Venom stuff, I really am not sure what's going on with Tom Hardy and Venom in the MCU and the other universe, but that's okay. Overall, I'm giving this movie out of 10 a 9.5. What would you give Spider-Man No Way Home out of 10? Drop your thoughts in the comment section to let us know you watched this video through to the end, and hit me up on Instagram at BrandonDavisBD to talk more. For more updates, head over to Comicbook.com/Marvel. I'm BD. I'll see you there.